to your clients in between transactions, resulting in more business, more referrals, which you at least want to know about. Yes?
Yeah.
That's why I'm here. I'm here to share with you something that you can do during the normal course of your day around your existing schedule. And I'm simply asking each and every one of you to simply care about one of your clients' biggest monthly expenses, excluding their mortgage. And I'm talking about their energy costs. Now, I don't know about you, but when I was raised, and the way I talk to my kids is, choose your friends wisely. We believe that, right? Choose your friends wisely, yes? Okay, so quick question for you. Is PG&E your friend?
No.
I'm shocked.
Yes, we are.
I love PG&E. PG&E is great for my business.
I'm sure it is.
PG&E has raised your rates 6 times since 2024, an average of 8% per year, every year since 2018. That's thinking. Every year, 8% since 2018, more than doubling in the past 10 years. And for the record, as of January of this year, they are $59 billion in debt. I love PG&E. Now, I don't have a crystal ball, maybe you do, but if you were to take into account what they've done to us to this point, and wildfires that happen every year, lawsuits that are still pending and probably coming, artificial intelligence, needs of energy, the fact that the grid that we depend on is over 100 years old. And did I mention, Anna, that they're $59 billion in debt? Did I say that? Just want to make sure I said that. All right, so let's imagine, just my imagination, let's just imagine that there's a typical Tri-Valley home. 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,600 square feet, central air conditioning, electric vehicle. If it was on the market, let's say it listed for $1.2 million. How many of you know of homes like that? That's kind of in the general range, right? Maybe a little bit low. Just general range, just kind of give you a ballpark. A house like that is going to generate approximately 1,250 kilowatt hours of electricity per month. And the electricity bill, the PG&E bill, will probably be somewhere around $450 a month. Now, I'm not sure if that's a lot or if that's a little. It kind of is what it is. But it's not what they are now as value-added consultants you are for your clients. It's where they're going. Because if we're conservative, not $403 a month, let's just imagine your monthly bill is around $300 a month. Let's just pretend that instead of 8% a year, that they only did it for about 4% a year. At $300, increasing 4% a year, over the next 25 years, that homeowner is spending $149,925.27 for 25 years just for electricity. Now, you know that. Hopefully, you can never unsee that fact. Now, okay, Stephen, that sounds interesting. Why should we care? Well, I want you to consider yourself to be something of a lifeguard. Now, one thing that some of you know is we're going on year 4 of me being a full-time solo caregiver for my now 94-year-old father.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for applause. No, I'm kidding. One of the joys of my life, true blessing. And my role is taking care of my father, in addition to taking care of my wife of over 40 years and my grandkid. I believe is not only to provide for them, but also to protect them, right? And as professionals, I believe that's our job too. Not just to provide value, but also protect them from the dangers that they don't see. Now, if we were lifeguards, sitting up on a little chair, looking at this family, having fun in the water, not paying attention to anything, and we knew that there were dangers, sharks in the water, or maybe like undertow or whatever, we would warn them, right? So why should you care? I believe that we should care because it affects each and every one of our clients. And they're not paying attention, but we are. They trust you. They already trust you, which means they might actually allow you to help them, or at least maybe heed some of your warnings. Now, the mistakes they make now, we get to deal with them later, right? Now, in this room, the people who've called me up to now, and I appreciate it, I appreciate your trusting me and asking me. We're at the 23rd hour. Stephen, we're selling our kids home who's taking care of their parents, and they just realized that the solar on the system still has a 7 years left on their PPA that still has a 3.9%. I don't even know if it worked. It helped me. I love being that person for you. My challenge for you is to also think bigger picture in between transactions to hopefully warn them from getting into that trouble in the first place. Does that make sense? All right. So you have an option, an opportunity to provide value to your clients in between transactions, and that's what results in more business and more referrals. If I get anything out of even one person here today, it is I want you to warn everybody of what's getting ready to happen in the next few weeks. We'll put a pin in that. All right. Everyone basically understands how solar works. The sun hits the solar panels. Electricity is created or generated. It's actually created in direct current. It has to go through something called an inverter that changes it to AC, and then you can use it for the loads happening in your house if you happen to be at home at the time and you're doing something. Electricity has to go somewhere, so it either goes straight to your battery that charges your battery so you can use it after the sun goes down, or you can donate it back to PG&E for pennies on the dollar. That's how solar works. So you've probably heard a lot of talk about batteries recently. Why all of a sudden are people talking about batteries? Well, way in the old days, way back in 2023, PG&E used to give full retail credit, dollar for dollar, for any electricity that you gave back to the grid. It was really cool. When the sun went down, you just used those credits, didn't have a PG&E bill. People were using the grid almost like a virtual battery. It was really cool. But then PG&E got together and said, no, that sounds a little bit too generous. Let's stop doing that. Instead of giving them full retail credit dollar for dollar, let's give them pennies on the dollar. So for the electricity you give to them, they give you wholesale rate, and then guess what they do when the sun goes down? They charge you full retail value, typically peak time, for the same electricity you gave to them. Is PG&E your friend? No. Okay. So I don't have a lot of time, so I got to pull up bullet points. So let's talk about some red flags. Do not allow your clients to trust anybody who says the following words. At no cost to you. Free. Special government program. We're working with the utility company. These are lies. These people cannot be trusted. But they sound really good. I like to call them t-shirt wearing door knocking solar bros, but hey, some of them out there are actually doing their job, but so many people invade our neighborhoods. The number one way that solar has been sold for a long time, I believe decades, is door knockers, cold callers, and social media. Are those sources that we should allow our clients to trust? Misconceptions. You might get all the other ones. Yeah, misconceptions. These are not true, by the way. These are misconceptions. One, that free solar programs exist. So many ads and so many things get out there, oftentimes, as recently as a couple weeks ago, my wife said, you should do that free solar program. They don't exist. Now, also a misconception is that cash is always best. It used to be for some people, especially when there was a 30% income tax credit, but that's not always the case because of a lot of things going on that can kind of drag you through right now. PPAs or something called a power purchase agreement, that's just something new, and that they're always bad, not necessarily depending on your situation. Some people don't necessarily want to own this system, they just want cheaper rates, and you can do that through something called third-party ownership. The key is, it depends, and hopefully you're listening to a trusted source. Biggest misconception is that door knockers and cold callers can be trusted. Now, we would think that most people would know that, but if you look at the numbers, that's not true because they work if you just put so many people at your door and on your call and in your feed that enough people will believe them, that it's really unfortunate how many people are taking advantage of it. So that is not true. Now, there are people in my company, in my industry, they're going to see this video and say, they're not going to be happy with me. Because I say things like, solar's not for everybody. I say things like, door knockers and cold callers can't be trusted. Now, of course, that's an exaggeration a little bit, but there's so few people out there giving credible information and having good sources. The people knocking on your clients' doors right now, I know companies that are planning their trips because they're not from the community, they're not from the state, they're rarely if ever licensed, and they fly in and they hit the neighborhoods knocking on 100 doors per person. They're going to get enough of few people to listen to them. So once again, if you simply warn everybody, warn your family, warn your friends, warn your clients, warn your cats, your dogs, warn everybody, don't listen to them, because as a rule, odds are you're going to talk to someone who's not going to be helping you. All right, so far so good? Yes? All right. Things to remember. Solar's not right for everybody. It's just not. I challenge you to provide value to your clients in between transactions by simply caring about those big costs that they're having. And it can be as simple as saying, hey, and I know a challenge that we all have. We're focusing on the transaction we have in front of us, and then all of a sudden, we have to go out there and build pipeline again. We always want to stay in contact with our clients. Oftentimes, once we get a client, the type of clients that we get, we're probably not going to see them again for another 3, 4, 5, 6 years, if lucky. We need to have their goodwill, giving us referrals and that type of thing, right? So what type of calls are we making now? Well, hi, how you doing? Hope Donnie's doing well. I just wanted to let you know what listings are going on in the area, even though they're not buying or selling. Just want to give that to you. And hey, by the way, if you happen to know anybody who I can help, that way I helped you, I'd love that. That's a great call, but they fall into one category. I would challenge you to find ways to provide value during those calls so you can actually say, hey, I appreciate them giving me a call. That was very helpful to her. And then they start thinking, I know somebody who might be able to help her, right? That's how this thing works. So if you could call somebody and say, hey, I just want to warn you about what's going to happen in your neighborhoods. There are people who are going to be coming in. They're not from the community. They're usually not from the state. They're definitely not licensed. And they're going to say things about solar. I don't think you should trust them. Now, you don't have to say the second part. You don't. But you can. If you happen to ever decide that you want to at least get some information, I might know somebody who I can introduce you to that you should be able to trust for at least information. Now, you can say that part if you want to, but at least warn them. If nothing more, if you warn them, then I've done my job. Finally, all right. I don't have a lot of time to drag you through what kind of numbers people really want to know. Here's the thing. Believe it or not, right now, in certain situations in this PG&A territory that we're in, it's cheaper to upgrade to solar now than it was before, even last year when there was a 30% tax credit. The only example I can give you, and numbers people, financial companies will always figure out a way, right? Absolutely. So here's what happens. Up until December of 2025, individual homeowners who own their solar systems could take a 30% income tax credit off the total cost of their system. It was pretty cool. For whatever reason, the powers that be decided that wasn't too good. Let's take it away from the individual homeowners, but they transferred all of it over to financial institutions and commercial entities that still receive the 30% tax credit. And they get extra credits for domestic content, something called energy communities. Some of these companies are actually able to qualify for up to 50% tax credit, while the individual homeowners can't touch a piece of it unless the financial companies get creative. And now what they're doing is they're getting so many they're getting so many credits that they're changing around and giving people who want to actually own the system a 30-40% discount up front, similar to the tax credit. All they have to do is allow the companies to hold the paper for 5 years, so they can do they get their credits and do their write-offs. And it's an interesting thing. Don't have time to drag you through it. Just know it's not what you think, because it keeps changing. So that's the main thing I wanted to share. So, all right, Stephen, that's great. How much does it cost? Well, I'll get you in a second. Great. How much does it cost? Now, going back to the beginning to set the context, I shared with you that if a typical homeowner, regardless of the size of their house, all that kind of stuff, if they do have a $300 a month bill, and it only increases 4% a year, over the next 25 years, they will be spending $150,000 for their energy. How much does solar cost? Less than that. Often to the tune of tens of thousands of dollars. How would your clients feel about you in between transactions if you played a role in them possibly saving tens of thousands of dollars off of their energy costs? Would they think kindly of you? Would they give you the opportunity next time they wanted to buy or sell? Would they refer you to somebody when that situation came across the radar? Maybe. So that's why I wanted to share with you. So I have so much more information, but I'm out of time. I actually have enough time for questions. I'll get you first, Jorge. So the cool thing is, I actually wrote a book. Now, the audio version's available, the PDF's available. I actually had to stop the hard copy because so many changes are happening. I want to rewrite the chapter on the financing piece. But audio versions are available on many of the tables around here. You have a QR code. If you're in this room, if you're part of Viva in any way, especially a member, especially a sponsor, you get the free advanced copy. Please, not only take advantage of it for yourself, feel free just to give it to your clients. Just give it on my behalf. You can give them a free copy and say, hey, this information seems to be credible. There's no self-promotion there at all. And you could benefit from at least receiving the information. All right? So I have a meeting immediately after the meeting, but I come here every single week.
Yep.
And I love you, I appreciate you, I believe in you, and I'm so excited on the role that we can play in helping our clients out there live better lives. So that's all I want to talk about, and I know we have a few questions, but that's what I'm sharing. Go ahead.